According to new insider info, the next Super Smash Bros might not have even entered pre-production yet, and if the next Smash Bros takes as long to produce as previous Smash Bros, there's a good chance we're not getting our hands on it until holiday season of 2027. Yes, 2027, buddy. If I gotta wait till the end of 27 and Waluigi's not a playable character, I will lose my mind. However, there is a massive caveat with this title, and that is that it's a little bit clickbait. So in this video, we're going to take a deep dive to figure out when are we going to see the next Smash Bros on the Nintendo Switch 2. If you guys appreciate breaking gaming news, drop a thumbs up. I'm a small channel, really helps out a ton. All right, so this was posted over on The Gamer, but you can see that this was also shared on other platforms as well. The article goes on to say Kirby Air Riders was one of Nintendo's most surprising announcements in recent memory, and I agree, because Mario Kart World is a launch title for the Switch 2, and so a Kirby alternative to that, like just a few months later, is kind of crazy. I mean, I know they're not exactly the same type of game, but you get my point. Now, as you guys know, Kirby Air Ride is a cult classic on the GameCube, and the reason that we're talking about Kirby Air Riders is because the game's original director, Masahiro Sakurai, has returned for Kirby Air Riders. And as you guys know, Sakurai is primarily known for working on Super Smash Brothers. In fact, it has been claimed that the reason Nintendo greenlit Kirby Air Riders was to ensure that Sakurai would come back to direct the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Super Smash Bros, which may not have even entered pre-production yet. Super Smash Bros Switch 2 title could be a long way off. Now, the reason that we're talking about any of this, and the reason that all these articles are being made right now, is because Kiwi Talks posted this over on Twitter. Now, Kiwi Talks is a reliable and respected figure in the gaming journalism community, and while it's not true that he like leaks things like this, right, like these aren't actually leaks, things are not actually confirmed 100% here, but if you check out his show Kiwi Talks over on YouTube or the podcast, you'll see that he's interviewed over 100 game developers, including people from Retro Studios, Valve, Bethesda, etc. So somebody like this, who is so well connected, making a tweet like this is obviously going to get people talking. So what exactly did Kiwi Talks actually post? He said this game, referring to Kirby Air Riders, is Sakurai's passion project. He was burned out from working on Smash Bros constantly since 2012, so as a negotiating tactic, offered to do another Smash if he could do Kirby Air Riders first. Nintendo are in a bind with Smash Bros, as Sakurai is irreplaceable currently, and that is pretty much true. Now, he goes on to say that some of my stuff is already being misconstrued, and the line between fact and speculation is blurring. Everything in regards to the negotiation from Sakurai and Nintendo is a source, so that is apparently 100% true according to him. Everything else is speculation. I have no idea if Smash is in pre-production by Bandai Namco or not. Someone said, so is the new Smash games in development? And he said, I doubt it. Maybe Bandai Namco could be doing pre-production on it, but unlikely. Sakurai is so instrumental to planning these things out, especially on the third-party negotiations. The level of respect and clout he has in the industry can't be underestimated. Now, why would Sakurai need to use Kirby Air Riders as a negotiating tactic to work on the next Smash Brothers? Well, if we go back to the Gamer article over here, they elaborate and say it's no secret that Smash Ultimate took its toll on Masahiro Sakurai. The Nintendo legend revealed that he had to work on the title while connected to an IV drip to avoid taking time off, and that he once passed out in the gym from exhaustion. Thankfully, he's okay now, but the incidents cast doubt on whether he would return to create the Nintendo Switch 2's iteration of the beloved fighter. And this isn't news, right? It's been reported over the years that Sakurai is burnt out from making Smash Bros games. In fact, somebody responded to Kiwi Talks on Twitter and said, on one hand, it's perfectly understandable he wants a break from Smash, but I'll be honest, I didn't like the original Kirby Air Ride very much, so have no interest in this, and knowing it will delay the next Smash most likely kinda sucks. Kiwi Talks responds and says, you can't force creative people to do the same thing over and over. It mentally destroys them. Nintendo understands this. Even a number of Retro Studios devs were burned out on Metroid after Prime 2, and especially after Prime 3, so I 100% support and understand Sakurai's position. And this is true, right? I mean, even, and I'm not comparing myself to Sakurai. Obviously, I'm nothing, right? I'm garbage, I'm white trash, I'm overweight, I'm booty, right? I'm nothing, okay? But even as a tiny YouTuber, this is my second channel, and over on my main channel, I post content about the same game over and over and over again for years now, right? And so creatively, you get burnt out. Of course you do, right? And that's one of the reasons why I make content on this channel as a break from my main channel, because I can talk about things that I'm interested in here. So it's obvious, right? If you're a creative type of person, and especially if you are on the cutting edge and one of the best in the industry like Sakurai is, he can't exclusively work on Smash Bros for his entire career. It's just not possible for creative types like him to do that. And so he basically went to Nintendo and said, hey, yeah, I'll do the next Smash Bros, but you gotta give me a break. You gotta let me work on something that I want to work on. And right now that's Kirby Air Riders. And they were like, okay, fine, deal. Nobody's gonna make the next Smash Bros like you will, so whatever you want, you can have it. Okay, so what does this mean for the timeline of us getting the next Smash Bros game for the Switch 2? Well, Kirby Air Riders is not even out yet, and we know that it's probably coming this year in 2025. It was revealed to be coming in 2025, but we don't have, at the time of recording this, an exact date. People are speculating we're going to be getting it in November, but I mean, who knows? We should probably know next month if we have a Nintendo Direct in July. I suspect we might get a date for Kirby Air Riders, but again, that's just speculation. Needless to say, let's assume that Kirby Air Riders comes out end of this year, okay? And let's assume that for the next couple of months, they're just putting the finishing touches on the game. They're just polishing it up, and Sakurai is getting geared up to start production on Smash Bros right now. Okay, I think this is the most generous assumption, because it's unlikely that Smash Bros and Kirby Air Riders can be developed by Sakurai simultaneously, right? I mean, we just talked about how insane it was for Sakurai to develop Smash Bros in the past, right? Being connected to an IV drip, not taking time off, etc. So okay, if we know that Smash Bros takes 100% of Sakurai's time and dedication, it's reasonable to assume that he's not going to start production on Smash Bros until Kirby Air Riders no longer needs his full attention, right? Okay, so let's assume that that's right now. Let's assume that for the next 4 to 5 months before Kirby Air Riders releases, again, let's assume that that's all polishing, all final touches, and Sakurai is starting pre-production on Smash Bros right now at the end of June in 2025. When will we see the next Smash Bros if that is the case? Well, we could take a look at how long it took to develop other Smash Bros games and extrapolate that out. So here we have a very nice person who compiled this information for us over on Reddit, which means that it is probably 100% accurate. They do link a source here as well, but anyway, as you can see, we don't have a development time for the original Smash Bros. Smash Melee apparently started in October of 2000, and it took 13 months to develop, which is insane, although there is a little asterisk here to keep in mind, right? Smash Bros Brawl on the Wii took 2 years and 3 months. Smash Bros for 3DS, 2 years and 6 months. Smash Bros for Wii U, 2 years and 8 months. End of DLC was 1 year and 3 months. Now, full development for Smash Ultimate started after the end of the DLC releases for the 3DS and Wii U. That's according to the Wikipedia page here for Smash Ultimate. Planning started December 2015, with full development starting after the completion of the Wii U's downloadable content. And then of course it was released in December of 2018. And that puts Smash Ultimate's development somewhere in the same ballpark as previous Smash Bros, obviously Melee being the outlier here. So let's just say it's 2.5 years, right? Like 2 years, 6 months. That's how long it's going to take for them to make the next Smash Bros game. Well, if we assume that Sakurai is starting today at the end of June, well, 2 years from now is going to be June of 2027 plus 6 months. That's going to be holiday season of 2027. Now, I know that that probably bums a lot of people out, right? Like obviously Smash Bros is one of the massive games that people love. The fighting community loves it. The Nintendo, even the casual Nintendo players love the Smash Bros series. And so yes, it is disappointing to realize that we're probably 2.5 years or more away from the next Smash Bros. But at the same time, you know, if Sakurai wanted a break from Smash Bros due to burnout and due to lack of creativity, then I mean, you can't really complain about it, right? Like it is what it is. I mean, you can't force creativity. And personally, for me, I would much rather wait on a great game than force an average game, right? I don't want to see them force and just push out slop, right? Because then you just get Pokemon, right? You just get Pokemon games on the Switch. They were all bad. It was rough, at least compared to previous games in the franchise, right? I feel like Pokemon hasn't really been great since at least the 3DS, if we're being generous. So yeah, as much as it sucks to have to wait maybe another 2.5, 3 years for the next Smash Bros, it would suck even more if they rushed it and it was garbage, right? And that would just kind of put a stain on the reputation of Sakurai and the franchise itself. And I don't think Nintendo can really tank any more of those right now because they're already in a tough spot. A lot of people have shown some backlash on the Switch 2, even though it still ended up breaking records when it came out. I think Nintendo wants as many W's on the Switch 2 as possible, and I don't think that they would risk the brand loyalty that is Smash Bros, because it is definitely one of their juggernauts. Now, another thing that they could consider doing is using the next Smash Bros as a way to sell a limited edition console, or even possibly an OLED version of the Switch 2. Now, this is definitely a reach, right? And this is all my speculation, I'm not reading this from anywhere, but Smash Bros has die-hard fans. It is a crazy big community. The hype around a new Smash Bros is going to be insane. And so if they wanted to launch an OLED version of this console, of the Switch 2, and give people what they've been complaining about, right? Lots of people have been complaining that there's not an OLED screen on the Switch 2, even though, let's be real, you're probably going to be playing Smash Bros on a TV anyway. But regardless, Nintendo could be like, okay, fine, you want an OLED model, here you go, it's bundled with Smash Bros, enjoy the new Smash Bros. That would be pretty epic, right? Now, 2.5 years from now, is that enough time for them to release an OLED? Probably not, right? The Switch came out in March of 2017, and we didn't see the OLED until the end of 2021. So like 4.5 years for the OLED. So 2.5 years, I don't think that's enough time unless Nintendo is like crazy, but hey, it's something to at least speculate. Anyway, then the question becomes, what does the Smash community do until the next Smash game comes out? I mean, Smash Ultimate came out at the end of 2018, so by the end of 2027 we're talking 9 years in between Smash games. And I know they've added a bunch of DLC characters over that time period, and I also know that the replayability of Smash Bros really extends beyond regular updates and patches, right? Like if you want to play Smash Bros, you're gonna play Smash Bros. It doesn't really matter if there's a new update or not. You're just gonna grab the boys and you're gonna get some GameCube controllers and you're gonna have a good time, right? So there's replayability there, even online, even if there isn't an update. But still, 9 years is crazy. Now, if you play Smash Ultimate on the Switch 2, apparently there actually have been some improvements for Smash Bros Ultimate. Initially, under certain circumstances, if you tried to play online with Mii characters, the Brawler, Sword Fighter, or Gunner, there was the potential to crash the game entirely, which was kind of funny. But in the latest update released June 24th, so just a couple of days ago, they actually did fix this problem, right? So that's good that they finally got around to fixing that. But anyway, a recent video by GVG notes that Super Smash Bros Ultimate's load times have been significantly reduced. Additionally, it is able to consistently hold at 60 frames per second, even in matches featuring 8 players using the ice climbers, which means 16 characters on screen at once. So you can play Smash Ultimate on the Switch 2. You might have more stable frame rate in certain areas, load times are faster, that's great. But are they going to release new content or characters for Smash Bros? Is it going to get an enhanced version like we saw for Breath of the Wild? I would say probably not, right? I mean, like, again, if Sakurai is working on the next Smash Bros, he's not gonna take his time away from that to start working on a side project for the old one that came out, you know, 7 years ago. And honestly, when the Switch 2 came out, they announced updates for games like Scarlet and Violet, where they talked about improved frame rate and all this other stuff, and Lord knows Scarlet and Violet needed that. But I think that those improvements were a little bit overrated, to be honest with you. Like, besides the spawn quantity and distance of Pokemon in the world, the changes to Scarlet and Violet were very minuscule, to be honest with you. I barely even noticed them. So even if they did give Smash Bros a similar treatment as that, which, I mean, it looks like they might have already done that, it doesn't really, it's not going to move the needle very much. So yeah, I guess the Smash community is gonna just be chilling for the next 2.5 years, waiting patiently for the next Smash Bros game, unless I'm wrong. Maybe the game comes out a lot sooner, and I definitely could be wrong here because I'm not a diehard Smash Bros player. So let's take a look at what a pro player thinks the Switch 2 could mean for Smash Bros. This is a video by Nick C, or Nick Cuck, as you can see. Apparently he is a well-known Captain Falcon player and has been a pro player for a while, and he's also the owner of a super cool Gengar sign right here. I'm actually super jealous. I won one of those. And look at the melee rug. Actually, this room is sick. This is so cool. Okay, I'll play it. Oh, he means business.
If you're seeing this video right now, congratulations. You've lived long enough to see a new Nintendo console come out.
And boy, do I feel like it. My back, bro, is I'm in pain, boys. I'm not even kidding. Tylenol and orange juice is like my pregame when I go to concerts or festivals these days. I'm not thinking about getting lit. I'm thinking about my immune system, okay? And how achy I'm gonna be.
The Switch 2 has been officially revealed, everybody. It was a banger of a direct. Got what? A new Donkey Kong, new Mario Kart.
Oh yeah.
Probably get,
By the way, this video came out on April 10th. Okay, so if it sounds a little bit outdated, that's why.
a new Animal Crossing, maybe a 3D Mario in the next couple years or so. And while those are all great, and I'm sure they're going to make people very happy, Smash Brothers is all I really care about. Second a new console gets announced, all my brain thinks about is Smash Brothers.
I think a lot of people are like that, to be honest. Like I said, there is a die-hard Smash Bros community, but I will say he's got a lot of Pokemon stuff here. I feel like he likes more than just Smash Bros. Come on.
And in the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2 and in the Direct, we got no mention of Smash Brothers whatsoever. So what does this mean?
It means things ain't looking good, to be honest. I don't know. That's how I read it.
Does it make sense for a new Smash to come out now? Does it make more sense for us to get a Smash Bros. Ultimate Switch 2 edition with new content, maybe some characters, or an entirely new entry in the series?
Also, like, and again, I could be completely wrong because it's been so many years and I forgot and I haven't played Smash Bros. Lately, but wasn't the Smash Ultimate, like, obviously they added a ton, but wasn't it similar to Smash for Wii U? But they added like a story mode and way more characters and they fully fleshed it out, right? Like kind of like Mario Kart 8 versus Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, except they did even more. So if they do that again, it's like, how many times can you like tack on all this extra stuff to a base game? I don't know. I guess maybe that's what Smash Bros. Players want. They just want what they've had plus more. I mean, I guess that's honestly, I don't think anyone would complain, really.
Features could they add to take advantage of the Switch 2's hardware capabilities? And of course, what new characters could we see in Super Smash Bros.?
That's the real question, boys. But yeah, I actually didn't even think about like what the hardware could bring to the game. Let's see.
Let's take a second and look at the numbers here. Why do I think that we're due for a new Super Smash Bros. Game?
Probably because it's been mad long since we had one. I'll take a sip too.
We all know that Super Smash Bros. Is one of Nintendo's biggest selling franchises, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Currently ranked number 6, I believe.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised that it's below Animal Crossing, but also Animal Crossing kind of had like a perfect storm in 2020, so I guess it makes sense.
In terms of units sold, and we're in the biggest drought between titles ever in this history of Smash Brothers games. Just to give you numbers, it's been over 6 years since Ultimate came out, 3.5 years about since the last DLC dropped.
Damn, 3.5 years since the last DLC. That's kind of crazy.
Being Sora, the only real point of comparison here is Smash 4. When the last DLC character came out for Smash 4, it took a little over 2 years for them to announce Ultimate. So if you're feeling in your heart like we're overdue for Smash news, you're absolutely right.
Oh yeah.
Then the question arises, how does Nintendo and Sakurai potentially follow up after Smash Bros. Ultimate, right?
Yeah.
The game had its entire marketing push around being the biggest, most robust, complete version of Super Smash Bros. Ever.
See, that's what I was thinking too, because I remember when Smash Ultimate came out and the news of Sakurai, like the fact that it impacted his health and the fact that it was called Ultimate and was supposed to have like all the characters. I was like, okay, well maybe this is like the definitive Smash Bros. And like we're kind of done. The reason that I thought maybe that's not the case is because it just makes so much money that like I just feel like Nintendo's not gonna let it be done. Like even when Sakurai steps back inevitably, right? Like at some point he will step back. I think that Nintendo is not above just releasing another Smash Bros. Even if it's garbage, they'll probably still do it because it just makes so much money and because people are going to want it even if it's not made by Sakurai. Now I know the diehard fans might disagree with that, right? And I totally understand that, but like the general public is still gonna buy a Smash Bros. Game even if he's not involved, and so they will do that, right? So I don't know, we'll have to see.
Everybody is here being its tagline. It had a sense of finality to it.
Right, yeah.
Now that the Switch 2 Direct has happened, we have a better understanding of what Nintendo's strategy is for either porting old Switch games to the Switch 2 or remastering them entirely for the new hardware. Some games on the Nintendo Switch 2 will have free performance patches to run better on the new hardware.
Yeah.
And other games will receive paid upgrade packs. Paid loosely if you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion, whatever.
Right.
You'll get those for free, whatever. But they're basically deluxe edition add-ons. To me, this whole situation makes the idea of Ultimate getting a deluxe treatment or Nintendo Switch 2 edition way more possible and realistic.
See, that's interesting because it is the most logical sort of outcome, and it's also the easiest for Nintendo to do, and it's the easiest for Sakurai to be a part of, right? But also, like, it's been so long since the last Smash Bros. Game that I feel like players deserve a new one? And also, why wouldn't they have announced it already when they revealed the Switch 2, right? Or maybe they're just keeping some bullets in the chamber just in case. Can't release all the heat at once, you know what I'm saying? Gotta save some for 2026. I don't know.
An upgraded version running better, 4K, maybe a little bit reduced input delay, potentially better online services.
Yeah.
And of course, new content, whether it be features or extra fighters. To me, that makes a lot more sense than an entirely new entry in the series.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Yep.
Let's talk about the Switch 2's hardware and how Nintendo can lean on the new features and capabilities and integrate them into Smash Bros. Somehow. Because historically, Smash Bros. Has leaned in on the gimmicks of that generation's Nintendo console.
I forgot you could use, oh my God, the Wii. Bro, I forgot motion controls were even like a thing. That's crazy.
Whether it would be motion controls in Brawl.
Yeah, like I totally forgot about doing that, dude. I had a classic controller back then, the one that plugged into the bottom of the Wiimote, and I had like a little grip thing you stick the Wiimote on. So I could play with that. Or I also had the original Wii that had the GameCube like ports on the top where you could just plug in GameCube controllers. Obviously that was the superior way to play Smash Bros. And also you could play GameCube games on the Wii. So you could play Smash Melee that way as well. So when I think back to Smash Bros. On the Wii, I completely forgot about motion controls. They were even a thing.
Or the touch screen on the Wii U gamepad being used for the stage builder.
Yeah, see, I was not a part of that. Like I actually, I don't even have to say had. I have the Smash Bros. For Wii U, and I got it when it first came out. But this, I actually forgot that you could build your own stages. It looks familiar now that I look at it, because there's some like uncanny valley with the way that the grass and the rock looks. But yeah, this dude is like unlocking memories I forgot I even had. Jesus.
Nintendo has always included the latest gimmick in a superficial role. I think no matter whatever gimmicks that they will include in Smash, it will never affect the core gameplay. It will still be a platform fighter. We're not going to be playing like point and click in the middle of a match.
Right,
the biggest new hardware feature for the Nintendo Switch 2 is obviously the mouse controls. Now, I don't necessarily think mouse controls are going to be a huge part of another Smash Brothers game. I do think it's likely to be involved somehow. My guess would be mouse controls for a stage builder, maybe even menu navigation.
Yeah, a stage builder, it would be way easier to do a stage builder with a mouse than it would be navigating with the D-pad, but also you still have the touch screen on the Switch as well, so I don't really know if it would be better than that. So yeah, I'm not sure how they could implement mouse controls, to be honest with you.
Everybody loves the credits minigame at the end of Classic Mode or whatever.
That's
mouse
true,
controls for that. And maybe even a few arcade style mini games for like trophies or stickers or
that's true. Yeah,
whatever.
You could totally do that. That's a good point.
But I don't think mouse controls would necessarily touch anything related to the core gameplay.
Yeah, definitely not.
Of Smash.
No.
Something I think is huge for a new Smash Bros. Game is Nintendo leaning in on social capabilities with the Switch 2. Things like webcam, built-in microphone. There's rumors of like social media integration.
So the webcam thing, obviously they've already done that with Mario Kart, but also like I feel like people would get mad disrespectful on Smash Bros. If you could see somebody else, like especially on online, bro. I don't know. That could be risky. And also, like, where would they put the webcam? I guess they could put it down near like your health percentage or something. I'm not really sure. Social media integration is an interesting point as well. I feel like Nintendo always kind of strays away from that because integrating into social media kind of opens up the Pandora's box for all of the kids that use the systems to be exposed to things that they otherwise probably shouldn't be exposed to. Obviously in 2025, 2026, the kids are going to be exposed to that stuff anyway, but Nintendo just wants to have nothing to do with it. So, you know, cyberbullying and things like that. So yeah, as much as I would love to see more social features on the Nintendo consoles and the Switch 2 specifically, I don't know if they will make that leap for Smash Bros. But I mean, he's the pro here. He would know better than me for sure.
I think the next Smash Bros. Will lean heavy on content creation.
Okay.
Things like using the new technology to stream directly to YouTube or Twitch.
Yeah.
No capture card needed. Record,
that would be
edit,
awesome,
and share your clips. And even things like community challenges where Nintendo can promote the most exciting or viral clips that are uploaded.
That would be crazy. Like, you know, the YouTube channels are gonna pop off with people doing like top 50 plays of the week on Smash Bros or something like that. Like, that's gonna be a thing if they actually have a way to navigate through the best clips that have been posted. That would be cool. All they have to really do is kind of like copy the Reddit strategy where you could just upvote and downvote things. Although downvoting something might be considered cyberbullying by Nintendo's definition, so maybe they won't do that. Maybe it'll just be a like system. I don't know.
Combo showcases, tournament highlights, things like that. Smash is a game that already thrives on hype moments.
Yeah.
And if Nintendo leans into this, the next Smash Brothers could become a content monster in the next generation.
The beauty of Smash Bros and why it can have such good viral moments is because all of the characters are somewhat recognizable. Obviously, some more than others, right? Like, more people are going to recognize Mario than they are Solid Snake or Sora or Marth or whatever. But there's like recognizable characters there, and it's a pretty simple fighting game from the viewer's perspective. So even if you've never even seen Smash Bros before, you kind of understand what's going on. And then as your understanding of the game goes up, you understand the hype moments more and more and more. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe that he just did that off stage, whatever. So yeah, I think it could be really cool to see Nintendo lean into this, but also like, I feel like those that want to make content kind of have already found a place to do it at, right? So I don't know how Nintendo could do it, but better. Like, if we look at the webcam implementation that they have for Mario Party or Mario Kart World, it's kind of just like a worse Discord call, except the benefit is that it's on your TV, and so you could do it from the living room, right? So it's like, you know, I don't know, like for me personally, I've not used that feature on my Switch 2. I'd be curious to know what the adoption rate is of that feature. I bet it's not that popular, and so, you know, adding more social features that just kind of copy what other social media networks are doing already, like YouTube, TikTok, whatever. I don't know if it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be a place where like the clip farmers go and just yoink it and put it on YouTube, right? Like, it's ultimately gonna be all about actual social media. So I don't know, we'll see.
Just a quick point that I always forget to bring up whenever I talk about this is in the Ultimate reveal, the Everyone Is Here trailer, Sakurai went on the record to say that this is what he believes players want.
Yeah.
When referring to adding all the characters back into Smash. So what do players want other than obviously new characters today? We kind of live in the viral TikTok age, so I do think that the culture is there, that what Nintendo may believe players want is to be able to share their exciting moments, whether they be cool or funny or weird.
I also think if there's anything we can learn from Mario Kart World, it's that they might put more costumes, like actual cosmetics, into the game. I don't know how that's going to work with like visibility and all sorts of things like that, but that could be a thing. Oh my God, imagine Fortnite dancing comes to Super Smash Bros. Like, you go to emote on somebody and you break out like the floss, you know what I mean? I hope they don't do that. That would be crazy.
Via some built-in technology into a Super Smash Bros. Game. Another important piece of this entire puzzle is the Sakurai situation, right? Nintendo announced Kirby Air Riders in the Switch 2 Direct and made it a point to announce that Sakurai is directing it.
Hey, that's
this
what we
is a game
just
that he's
talked
been
about.
working on for years now.
Yeah.
Not being Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Which to me means that it's likely that this is going to be an Ultimate Switch 2 edition.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a ground up reboot, but I will not rule out the possibility of somebody else being the director of a new Smash game and Sakurai just being a consultant on the process and the
That's a good point too, because, you know, Sakurai's in his 50s already, right? And, you know, if he does make a new Smash Bros game, like look how long it's been since the last one, right? If we're talking 6 to 8 years in between Smash Bros releases, and he's like, what, 54 now? So this next Smash Bros could be his last one that he could even possibly fully direct himself. And so instead of maybe doing all the work himself and then bowing out and saying like, hey, I'm in my 60s now, I'm gonna retire, I'm Gucci, like, have fun, y'all. This could be the game where instead of doing it all himself, he kind of takes on, like he just said, he takes on an advisor role or a consultant role and sort of like attempts to train a team of people that are younger and that can sort of carry the torch for when he does inevitably leave, right? Because he will leave eventually. And so this could be that game that he uses to train more people to be able to make Smash Bros as good as he's been able to make it for literally ever now.
If I were to bet though, I think since Sakurai is working on something else, Nintendo would just use Ultimate as a foundation and then re-release it with a Switch 2 edition. I do honestly think though, a sequel game or a new entry in the series entirely is completely possible in the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, and that would line up with the timeline that we talked about before, right? So I wonder if Nintendo's just kind of waiting for Kirby Air Riders to come out before they reach out to Sakurai and they're like, all right, Kirby Air Riders is done. What do you want to do? Do you have ideas for a whole new game? Are you up to making a whole new game? Can we convince you to make a whole new game with X amount of dollars? Maybe they start working on things and realize that they can't flesh it out enough to make a whole new game. So they decide, okay, instead of going that route, let's just cut it halfway and call it Smash Ultimate for Switch 2 edition. And then there you go. I think they could be pretty flexible with this if they haven't even started yet. But I think he is right. It would be way easier for them to just build off of what Smash Ultimate already is. But I do think that would be a little bit of a letdown because we've already had Smash Ultimate for so long now that I think the casual players at least are looking for something new. The pro players obviously are probably okay with Smash how it is. I think Smash Ultimate has been very popular. People like it a lot. So yeah, interesting points.
But for now, I think an Ultimate Switch 2 edition is more likely. So let's do a little bit of character speculation, right? Because that's the biggest part of a Smash Brothers game. A lot has changed since Sora wrapped up Fighter Pass 2 in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Some characters that may have felt like they were long shots to be in Smash Bros. Now probably have a better chance than ever.
Yeah.
Here's a short list of characters I think have a good chance of being in a Smash Bros. Ultimate Switch 2 edition.
Let's hear
Due
it.
to things like recent releases, cultural shifts, franchise momentum for their respective games, game industry trends as a whole.
Oh my God, they should put DJ Marshmello in the game, bro. Sabrina Carpenter. Do Sabrina Carpenter.
And this list could be a million characters long. Let me know what you guys think about what characters have a great chance now that didn't necessarily have as good a
Is that a World of Warcraft branded microphone? Nah, this dude said he's all about Smash Bros. In his blood, he's probably addicted to WoW too. Come on, let's be real.
chance during Ultimate's DLC. There are a lot of characters that I'm not listing here, but they definitely have always had a good chance of being in Smash. A lot of these are first party, because we could go on and on about first party characters.
Yeah.
I'm going to list the characters right now, and then I'll give you a little bit of reasoning why I'm naming these characters specifically.
If they don't put the cow in the next Smash Brothers, you know, the one from Moo Moo Meadows, the one that's playable in Mario Kart World, let me play as a Cheep. Like... Make that a thing. I don't know how you could possibly do that, but make it a thing. They could literally have like a fishing line coming down from the top of the screen at all times that is connected to Cheep, and that would give it like an excuse for it to be like moving and jumping around on the stage or something. I don't know.
Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden.
Oh,
Leon Kennedy or some Resident Evil rep.
Resident Evil seems a little dark for Smash Bros, but I don't know. I guess it's possible.
Jonesy from Fortnite.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I feel like they totally could do that. And that would be absolutely miserable. And oh my God, bro. That means Nintendo would have to cooperate with Epic Games. You know, Epic would try to, nah, bro, there's no way. I just don't want to, the implications of that, I don't even want to know.
Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, please.
Some kind of Monster Hunter representation.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Doomslayer.
Okay, let's see Master Chief from Halo. I know he's not like super culturally relevant in this exact moment, right? Like I'm 30 and so I remember Halo 2, but like the kids these days don't really know as much about Halo as maybe he and I do. But I still want to see Master Chief in there, especially now that Microsoft seems to be a little bit more loose with their IPs, or they're considering it at least. I don't know. Let's see.
Gino from Super Mario RPG.
Okay. Yeah.
And Hollow Knight.
Oh, Hollow Knight would be huge. Yeah. That would be big.
I also have written down potentially maybe a From Software rep, given that new Switch 2 exclusive game.
True.
You know, Xenoblade's been a priority for Nintendo, Splatoon, whatever.
Yep.
Maybe like, you know, other indie darling characters. Who knows?
Surely there's going to be another Pokemon starter from whatever the next generation is, or maybe they even just use the Scarlet and Violet starters. I feel like the starters aren't even that popular from the current games, so who knows?
Ninja Gaiden had a new game recently. Leon Kennedy. Resident Evil has kind of cemented itself as like an iconic series in the past, you know, decade, I'd say.
Yeah, true.
And with recent re-releases and remakes, Leon Kennedy is a heavily associated GameCube character, I would say.
Yeah.
Hear me out on this one. I'm not in favor of it, but you cannot deny the impact Fortnite has had in video games since the pandemic era. Crash has always been a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, he's always been one of those characters that people can expect be in the speculation for a new Smash.
We need Shadow from Sonic to be a playable character. Okay, they just did the Sonic X Shadows Generations release on the Switch 2. Like, use that as an excuse, throw him in there, or Knuckles, or whatever you want to do. We need Waluigi, like I said earlier. Like, why is he not a playable? Like, hello, at this rate, throw Pauline in there because she's part of Donkey Kong too, so just do it.
I think it's a shocker that Crash hasn't been added to Smash at this point, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter, you know, no surprise here. It's a huge game, and with the recent releases of Rise and Sunbreak, the Monster Hunter franchise is bigger than ever. Doom Eternal's success and the Mii costume piece of Smash Ultimate makes me feel like Doomslayer is closer than ever to being a playable character. Gino is a no-brainer, especially with the Super Mario RPG remake.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he's not in a new Smash. Hollow Knight Silksong having a moment in the Switch 2 Direct does make me feel like they have their eyes on him.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's obviously some considerations about characters like Waluigi and you know, things like that. Maybe Pauline, if she's involved in the Donkey Kong game.
Exactly.
Like, we can go on and on about this. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is the character speculation landscape is different today than it was the day before Sora was announced.
Yeah, true.
So it's a whole new ball game, essentially, if there is a new Smash Brothers game coming out. If I were to have to give a bold prediction right now as to how they will handle Smash Brothers on Nintendo Switch 2, I would tell you it's going to be Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Switch 2 Edition.
Okay.
The base game will start with 89 characters, and they will work their way up to 100 characters. It'll be a little mix of some third parties, some new first party, some old first party. But they need to be very deliberate about how they handled the 100th character. And I think it would need to be something groundbreaking or special. And my heart tells me Goku, it really does.
That would be fire, bro. I remember in college, the first time I played a hacked version of Super Smash Brothers, I definitely had too much to drink. And I remember waking up the next day thinking like, wait a minute, was I playing as Goku in Smash Brothers? I had to text my friends. I was like, did that actually happen? Or was I don't remember what, like, did I dream that or something? And he's like, yeah, no, we have a hacked version of Smash. I was like, oh, okay, I got it. But I was like, man, Goku would be so just, ooh, chef's kiss, perfect. But I mean, if we're going that route, you could do things like Naruto, you could do things like Luffy, which arguably could be even more impactful for like kids these days. You know what I mean? Not to say that Goku isn't, but like, you can't deny the success of One Piece and Naruto, that's for sure. I want to see Hello Kitty. Okay, they have Hello Kitty Island Adventure now on the Switch. We need to see Hello Kitty. Let's get it going. Throw my man Garfield in there. That's my boy. All right, we want to see Garfield, and I want to see the Lich King from World of Warcraft. Make it happen. Figure it out. I don't know,
but who knows, man? Like, we'll see in the next year what Nintendo announces and what they give to us.
Another good point, by the way, is that Goku and Vegeta are already in Fortnite, right? They might have even more than that, right? So these companies are willing to work with other brands and put their characters into these other games. I think the question or the barrier would be whether Nintendo would do it or not, and like what the revenue split would be there, because you know that that's one of the biggest points of contention. How much is it going to cost Nintendo to do that? And is it actually worth it for them to do so?
Well, let me know what you guys think. This is all highly speculative, right? Like, I don't know anything, and all we have is the information Nintendo gives us. So feel free to let me know what you guys think, and yeah, stay crazy, I guess. Go on. I just want. Hey Jesus, nice glasses. One character you could put in Smash Ultimate. Who is it?
Are they gonna kiss right now?
Ronald McDonald.
I didn't know how much I wanted it until he just said that. That was cool. It was nice seeing the perspective of an actual like pro player give his thoughts and opinions on what could be coming to Smash. And again, I think he would know better than me for sure. He's like been a member of the community forever, so he's thinking that we're getting a Smash Ultimate Deluxe or something like that, which I mean, I hope they come up with a better name for it at least. But yeah, I think he's probably right with that. I think that coming out before December 2027 I think makes a lot more sense. You know, maybe sometime at the end of next year would be nice, obviously, unless they did a crazy stealth drop at the end of this year, which would be just just like insane. I don't know if they would do that, but yeah, it also could be the case that they're waiting to just see like what is the initial sales volume of the Switch 2, right? Like how much should they invest in Switch 2 exclusive stuff? Because if the Switch 2, I mean, it just came out, right? If it's going to be, you know, sort of mid in the sales department, then, you know, they're not going to put a ton of effort into it, and that's going to just be like, okay, yeah, it's just going to be Ultimate 2.0 basically. If it sells just as well as the Switch does in the next 6 to 12 months, then okay, yeah, now it's worth it because the install base is even bigger, right? So I think that could also be Nintendo's strategy as well. Release a couple of things like a new Mario Kart, kind of a no-brainer. It's a good game. They released Donkey Kong. It's a 3D platformer. It's safe, right? But when it comes to stuff like Smash Bros, maybe they're waiting to see, you know, Switch 2 sales, the interest, how Sakurai feels, what his thoughts are, things like that. So yeah, he's leaning towards an Ultimate deluxe version. I think that does make a lot of sense, and hopefully if that does happen, we don't have to wait till the end of 2027. And the final piece to this whole puzzle is Smash Bros Melee. Are they going to do Smash Bros Melee? Obviously a big component of the Switch 2 reveal was that you would be able to play GameCube games on there. There's only 3 at the time of recording this. We have Soul Calibur, we have Wind Waker, and we have F-Zero. And look, as much as I want Melee to come to the Switch 2, I don't think that it's going to happen. And the reason I think that is because we still haven't gotten Smash 64. They won't give it to us. I know the community wants it, but honestly, I think that they know that they would kind of divide the community if they released all the different Smash Bros games all on the Switch 2, and then like there would be an expectation for there to be online mode, and that would just cannibalize the most modern version of Smash Bros, right? So is it possible they could give us Melee? Yes, it's possible. Will they do it? Probably not. I think it would just cannibalize Ultimate, and it would cannibalize whatever the next Smash Bros game is because of how popular Melee is. So it's not a 0% chance, but it's pretty close, I would say. With all that being said, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you think that the next Smash Bros is already in production? Do you think we're gonna see it sooner than I'm predicting? And would you buy a special edition Smash Bros Switch 2 if it was OLED 2.5 years from now? And while you're down there, drop a thumbs up on the video. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps push this video out into the YouTube algorithm so other people might see it. I'm a very small channel after all, so it really does help out a ton. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to be notified the next time I upload gaming news content. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.